The markets are recovering from a red start to the day after a big old jobs number came in and put a lot of fear that we are going to see more rate hikes. We're going to discuss all of that. We're going to discuss the latest from BlackRock and their Bitcoin market manipulation. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We're a couple of guys who love following the markets, but please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kev, the focus this morning was on jobs. We saw the ADP number, which is for private sector jobs. Expectation was that it would add 200,000 jobs last month. Came in at 497,000 jobs added. That's absolutely wild. We saw the markets tank off of that. We then saw initial jobless claims were up a little bit. The JOLTS report was slightly below expectation, but now we're starting to see there's fear about tomorrow's jobs number. What's the unemployment rate going to be? How many jobs were added? Non-farm payroll. So it's a weird day out there. We saw a big sell-off, and now the markets are clawing their way back.
Yeah. Again, it's wild how much this market is willing to buy back bad news, and maybe they're expecting it to be a bull market, but this wasn't necessarily great data, right? Especially going into tomorrow. Tomorrow is it's a crapshoot. We're going to find out whether unemployment went up or went down. It doesn't seem real optimistic that unemployment would go lower than where it currently is based off of 500K that positions that were added, right, from the ADP numbers. I wouldn't believe that it would be so, but yeah, it's absolutely insane to me that we saw so much red early in the day, and then now it's like just like an average day. It's like a little bit down, but it was way worse this morning.
Yeah, I mean, NASDAQ, S&P were close to 2% down. They've recovered. If you look at the VIX, it went up just over 17. Now it's down to just over 15. So, so much movement. It's really interesting to watch. Like, I don't know if the markets, the people who did the selling this morning weren't believing Powell. Like when he said that we need at least 2 more rate hikes. And then they're like, oh, I guess the Fed really does need 2 more rate hikes. And then people just kind of bought the selling back. But yeah, we saw crypto, ETH and BTC each took like a 5% drop, like within a matter of minutes. And now they've began to recover as well. Like I thought today was finally going to be the day that we saw ETH get below 1,800, that Bitcoin was going to stay under 30, but it wicked under 30 and it bounced right back up, and we're trading in that low 30 range now. So it's going to be, another big morning tomorrow. I'm not sure how much the market is now priced in. Like if we would still be at the levels we were at in the first hour or two of the trading day, I would say that, okay, the markets are probably priced in a hot jobs data tomorrow. At the same time, with this bounce back, as we enter the last hour of the trading day, I'm not so sure that's the case. So I think we're going to have to watch that number tomorrow. We're going to see what comes out with the unemployment rate, non-farm payroll, and wages. Those are going to be the big numbers to look at there. And how that's going to, once again, impact the Fed's decision. They got less than 3 weeks now before the rate hike in July. Then they have a month off in August before returning in late September. So it's the Fed's, it's going to be 25. We're seeing that in the probabilities. We're slowly seeing the probability of 25 in September get priced in also. I don't know why that, they're still only showing it as 29%, which doesn't make sense to me. But we'll have to see where that goes. So what else in the market has really caught your eye?
I've been focused on crypto mainly, but I think one thing that I was telling you earlier before the show too, that's I'm keeping my eye on, is a lot of these bank stocks. Again, we haven't heard much about these recently, right? I think a lot of people have seemingly kind of expected that the banks are going to be fine. They're going to be safe. Again, we reiterate this all the time. Interest rates, the federal funds rate, extremely high right now. So there is still stress being put on a lot of these. I think for the Kobe SC letter, they put out a really great thread about how Bank of America currently has about I think it's $100 million worth of paper losses currently. It's not great. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to realize those losses, but it's definitely shows that there are some negative, aspects still to the banking industry. I went through like maybe 6 or 7 bank stocks last night. I posted them on Twitter. If you guys follow, you can see some of those, but some of these bank stocks look absolutely terrible, and it's just so quiet right now. And again, we're getting some data that comes back that's showing, what would traditionally be pretty inflationary, high amount of job hirings when inflation's very high, the federal funds rate's still high. And, we're in this period where it's like we're not really sure exactly where anything is going. Uh, I don't necessarily think that the banking crisis is over. That might just be me, being early. I have a tendency of being a little bit too early sometimes, but I think that, the banks, they don't look good. They don't look great. I think that there is going to be some negative price action for a lot of these. So I'm quietly keeping an eye on those. I think that's one thing that we might see some development over the next few months. But yeah, other than that, I honestly expected a lot more of a pull down or a pullback in TradFi, especially after yesterday with Meta and everything like that. So I'm not surprised by the red that we saw this morning. I anticipated that it'd be kind of it would have lasted a little bit longer, but that also just shows me that this market is very risk on right now, and that might not be the best thing, right? That's a pretty scary place to be if you're risk on at the wrong times in this market. And I think being risk on earlier on in this year, great idea, clearly, but being risk on maybe towards the end of a move, I don't know, man. I can't tell you what to do, but it just seems like it's the perfect opportunity for a lot of people to get out of their positions, and a lot of people who think that the markets can continue to go up and like, oh, this is a pullback, this is an opportunity to get in and make some money. Unless you're scalping, I have no idea how this might be profitable long term. I think there's still a lot more red that's coming, and we're starting to see a lot of this market finally pull back or break a little bit in some areas.
Yeah, on the banking side, we know for a fact that commercial real estate is gonna impact it. Now, that may not be till late 2024, early 2025. That's when we're gonna see a lot of these properties that are gonna be, it's gonna be time to pay the piper. And we also know that a disproportionate amount of small banks are holding those loans. It makes up a much higher percentage of their books than it does for the big banks. So that's a long way off though, right? Like that's an out of sight, out of mind thing for a lot of people. It's not going to impact us for another year plus. So, in this kind of short attention span market, not as many people are worried about it right now. So, something to keep in mind. Can the markets continue to move up? I don't know, man. Like I keep thinking that they can't, but they keep doing it, right? Like they
Right.
have a day like this, and then maybe they have a down week, and then they rebound. We're seeing it today. We're seeing a lot of the tech stocks that were down 2-3%. They've cut those losses in half. We have earnings season starting in a couple weeks. That is definitely going to impact things. So I think for now, I mean, it's a tough market to navigate, right? And we see
100%.
it with everyone. The pro, like we said before, the pros have a hard time understanding what this market is doing, especially when you hear BlackRock talking. Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, talking about how crypto is digital gold. And I'm sorry, but I agree with him. I think long
Yeah.
term, good things are happening, but I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him. Like
You
we
remember
know
what?
that BlackRock loves to manipulate markets, right?
Yep.
And so when I saw that and I saw the excitement on social media, I was like, okay, so they're just trying to push this up so they can tank it, win on the short end, and then also accumulate when people are panicking after it takes this next leg down.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I remember in 2019, Fink was like, Bitcoin's bullshit. It's a nothing asset, right? We all remember that. You can go on Fox Business or whatever, news channel that they had him on. He talked about it. You can see the clips from that. But this is what I think is honestly happening. You tweeted out this morning, made a great point that they're pretty much just going to buy back a lot lower or have the opportunity to short the entire market and make a lot of money, right? That's honestly what I think it is. And I think what we're seeing right now is, this 30-29. A lot of people are not sure which way it goes. I'm seeing a lot of bears who I really respect say that, it's going to go down from here. And that's, it's not going to go up. People are longing into, resistance. I agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, I do think that it's going to push up a little bit more. I think it's going to capitulate a lot of bears. I think we're going to see Bitcoin go to 35K. We're going to fill that gap. And I think from there, a lot of people are, all these perma bulls are going to be like, we're so fucking back. All these bears are going to be like, I don't really know what to make of any of this, anything anymore. So they're going to start, stupidly putting small positions in terms of longs just to see if they can make any money. But I don't think that we're going to see bullish continuation. This is the last major gap, and we have two that are huge below us. We've built so much liquidity on the way down, and bullish news is bearish news in a bear market. I don't care what anyone says. That's just giving you the opportunity to sell from higher. That's what the institutions are doing. And if BlackRock is really bullish on Bitcoin, the price would be a lot higher right now, wouldn't it? But it's not. They definitely have the funds to buy up as much as they want, but they're not stupid. They want to make money, and if they want to have a massive control of how much Bitcoin is in circulation, they're going to probably try and get the price to be so to a point where they can short it, make as much money as they possibly can, and buy it from you for dirt cheap, right? That's the mentality, the psychology I think about surrounding everyone getting excited over this. I don't buy into this bullshit Bitcoin ETF is bullish for the entire market. Long term, yeah, maybe. I think obviously we're going to make a lot of money going in the future, but I think we're at a point where we really don't know what's going on, and fear is driving a lot of our, emotions are driving a lot of our decisions, and that's not a good place to be. And so, yeah, so I honestly think that we're going to see a bit of a squeeze, and that's going to come right back down. How long will that play out? I don't know. Summer months are supposed to be quiet, and it's not really been quiet so far this summer. We're past July 4th. I think that a lot of people would have been closed their positions, but we saw Meta kicking ass yesterday, but now we're seeing Bitcoin pull back a little bit. I think there's tons of liquidity that's going to be sitting at 35, 34, 35K, and then even more on the way down. So this could be a summer where, money doesn't sleep at all. So money never sleeps this summer. That's what I'm saying for Bitcoin. I think it's going to be like that for a TradFi too.
Yeah, I mean, the Bitcoin ETF will be bullish once it's actually they are live and it's happening, right? Like
Exactly.
you can look historically when gold launched when the first gold ETF came out. Like it was bullish for it. It'll be bullish for Bitcoin. The question
Sure.
is, they just refiled their application. It hasn't gone through yet. So they're gonna talk out of one side, both sides of their mouth. So I think eventually, yes, it will be bullish for Bitcoin. But BlackRock wants it to be bullish for Bitcoin on their terms, and they are big enough and wield enough power that they can make that happen. So I think that's a good place to wrap up that portion of it. Other than that, we there's talk that the Fed is going to have to get closer to 6%. We are hearing that Bank of England might have to get closer to 7%. Inflation is still not tamed. I need to look into this further. I saw a site that called Trueflation that said that inflation is really closer to 2.3%. I don't know what these people are talking about, where
I
they're
saw
getting their
that.
data from. Yeah, I don't know I don't know how much of that I don't know how much of that I believe.
There's a really
Go
bad
ahead.
thing right now where there's a lot of really bad things where we're getting a lot of influencers who are extremely optimistic. The one I sent to you yesterday, where, we're in a place where obviously things are weird, but it doesn't necessarily mean that things are good or they're going to be sustainable, right? I think optimism right now is killing a lot of people, and it's going to hurt people long term. This 2.2% inflation from Trueflation, obviously that's a private company that ran the inflation data and they came up with the numbers. Everyone's going to have their self-interest, in their self-interest is going to be what they're going to be pushing a lot on a lot of these platforms and everything like that. I don't believe that we're even seeing true numbers out of the inflation data that we're getting. I'm not saying that it's fake. I just think that we're also using a different calculation for how we used to calculate inflation now with CPI and everything like that. And that's absolutely skewing the mindset that a lot of people are having. So we might be seeing things that seem great, but then again, let's look at core PC, right? It's been stagnant. And how many rate hikes have we had for the past few months? Like, they're 25s, but at the same time, it's like, is this actually pulling anything down? But then we get the headline numbers and everything looks great. And then people are still being hired. ADP numbers come out. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that I think people are being skewed or misled by. That's data, but it's not necessarily the truth. And again, we could be as optimistic as possible and say the United States printed as much money as they possibly could in 2021. Joe Biden's president, and inflation's coming down from 10% down to 2% by the end of 2024. We could be that optimistic. I don't believe in that. That sounds like a fairy tale to me, all factors considered. But it's really just wild to me that we're actually considering things playing out in a way where it's going to be for the first time ever that we're going to be able to combat inflation, bring it down to 2%. No one's going to lose their job, and the markets aren't going to tank.
It's all
That
sunshine and rainbows, buddy.
doesn't make sense to me one bit. And again, I want everything. I don't want anyone to get hurt at all, but I'm just being a realist. The entire history of the United States. I mean, even if you want to make a comparison right now, look at the 1920s to 1929, right when the stock market finally crashed. That was a year where people were just putting money into the market nonstop, and it was like there was no consequences. Everyone was just making money like crazy. Was that no different from 2010 to 2023? Right? It's a really wild, place where it's like nobody really lost money from 2010 to 2023. We got a little, we had the Great Recession where people lost a lot of money. Obviously, there's also a banking crisis that happened in the 1910s where people were afraid to put their money. So we've seen crises in these periods of time where people have made just so much money, but these bubbles do burst. And I don't want us to be a depression, but I do think that we are in a place where our mindset and this euphoria is definitely steering us away from the negative. And so, oh no, we might come out of this on top. I don't think so. I'm sorry. I just don't want people to have the wrong idea of anything that's going on right now. I just think that people are being misled like crazy. And if we look at history, it doesn't turn out that well for a lot of retail or even institutions sometimes when the markets do finally decide to turn. They're not the economy. This is a mind game, and we're playing with tons of money, and a lot of people are definitely trying to play you and outthink you every step of the way.
All right, let's look at a few charts. We'll keep it quick on those, and then we
Yeah,
can wrap it up for the day.
sounds good.
Let's look at Bitcoin on the heels of the BlackRock shenanigans. I want to look at Meta as well to kind of see how that's looking. Once again, I still don't buy that Threads is going to be a long-term like huge revenue generator for them,
It
but
sucks.
I could be wrong.
It sucks. Let's be honest. It is literally nothing to it, and it's no one's fun on there yet. Literally, I don't think anyone knows what to post on there because they're so used to posting pictures. But
Right
we'll
now,
see
I
what.
think it's just a lot of like people from Twitter who are disgruntled with the Twitter issues, and they're just going over there and doing the same old bullshit. And people who are normally on Instagram don't want to deal with that. So I don't really understand. You know, they clearly rushed this out.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to go
100%.
spend much time, but they clearly rushed this out on the back of the the FUD around Elon rate limiting people, because there are so many features that aren't even live yet that you have to think they would have wanted live if they put this on their timeline. Like
I
no
can't.
DMs, no, like there's just so much stuff that is missing that they've even said, it's going to take time for us to finish this up. They rushed this, and I think that's a bad strategy to take. I get they want to capitalize on some disgruntled Twitter users, but I don't think this was the way to do it.
No, it's absolute BS. I went on there last night to see what's up, and yeah, it's not it ain't Twitter, and I ain't a fan of it. But yeah, Bitcoin right now we're looking at this. We saw that we did get a massive push up last night. While we're sleeping, 31.40, is it 31.5? Yeah, 31.5 to the penny, and this is on none other than Binance. Who would have fucking thought? 31.5 exact to the penny. Binance broke above this parallel channel, came back down under it. We're underneath it. We're within it right now. Finding some support on this midline right here, the trend line. We're putting in this parallel channel, being higher highs. I mean, lower highs and lower lows. And if we look on the daily stochastic RSI, we're getting towards the oversold area, and we haven't really made much progress to the downside yet. So we're probably going to be oversold or in that area tonight. We got 4 hours and 40 minutes until that happens. So keep an eye on that. But I do think that we are starting to see, Bitcoin dominance, resurge a little bit. We went all the way up to 51.6, I believe, today. So it's a pretty good move. We're down at about 51.39 now. It just moved. But obviously Bitcoin shot up and pulled down. It's starting to climb once again. Shows you that Bitcoin's market. It's 100% Bitcoin's market, and everything else is playing to it. We got ETH that's finally under 1900 again. So, I mean, that just shows me that ETH dominance is probably dropping a little bit. Bitcoin dominance is increasing. We're also seeing, USDT dominance increasing. So a lot of people are moving into stables too. But I think this is setting us up for a parallel channel. And this is not a parallel channel. This is setting us up for a break to the upside. Again, 35K is my target, mainly because that's where that gap is for the futures for TradFi traders. But, this would be the perfect example for this to go up and then come straight back down, right? Where you're just setting it up. People are going to go extremely bullish once we get above this supply zone area around 32.3. Once we start getting to that 35 area, obviously a lot of people are going to be opening positions. Anyone who is shorting here is going to get liquidated. So I think a lot of bears who are maybe just, think that it can't go up much more. We're in a supply zone that they're only going to be selling in this area. I think they're going to underestimate the amount of liquidity that is sitting above before it starts to take out everything below. So I still stand by that. Bitcoin is, in my opinion, going to be making a move to the upside. Can't guarantee that. Obviously we can go to the bottom of this channel first before making a way up, but I do think that's, the market makers are going to do what they can to make as much money as they possibly can before we start seeing some of the reckoning happening for Bitcoin. And again, some of that reckoning, we're going to have to look at the total market cap for alts too, because as Bitcoin dominance does increase, that's going to make a huge difference for the alt market. We can see that we're putting in a parallel channel right here for the alts as well. And we can see that we've had some red days recently. We've had 1, 2, 3 days. This looks like, hit up here. You didn't even get a chance to test this up here on the daily. There's still plenty of room to the downside. And obviously, if this starts to come down a little bit slower, we got to break this. We're at least going to test maybe this origin right around here. So I think we will be under $300 billion USD for the total market cap of alts, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, or just excluding Ethereum. Bitcoin's not an alt. But yeah, I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see. And again, we've had some red for the past day or so, and we see that we're coming down, and it's been kind of a slow pull to the downside. But if we look at Bitcoin, that momentum on the daily, wrong chart. That Bitcoin on the daily, where am I? Wow, I really lost the Bitcoin chart. Oh, here it is. That's the one I like. Yeah. If you can see the stochastic RSI on the daily is, pulled down significantly, and it hasn't really come down that much. That tells me that there's tons of room to the upside, and that's going to just drive this up. This has been kind of a lackluster move to the downside. And it tells me that, there's probably going to be a lot of money coming in and pushing this up. And altcoins, like I said, on the daily, if we're looking at this to the point where total three, if we're looking at this to be collapsing fairly soon, we got plenty of room to the downside. So this could be a move that, plays out for a few days and actually just drops as Bitcoin increases. We're going to have to, keep an eye on that. Other total market cap, which is the entire total market cap with everything, including Bitcoin and Ethereum, we're kind of putting in this head and shoulders pretty nicely right now. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay. I mean, this could push up a little bit further on this shoulder. I mean, the shoulder could probably go up to 123 if it really wanted to, but I don't anticipate this market cap going up if alts are dropping and Bitcoin's increasing, right? That wouldn't make sense. I think they would kind of level each other out a little bit. And, I could see that point where maybe we hit 35K right here at a 1.2 to 1.23 trillion dollars for the total market cap. And then once we hit that 35K, all the money's below us. And that, that creates this downward spiral for this right shoulder. And once we break that, then, watch out. We're in this parallel channel, head and shoulders within a parallel channel, come down to at least it would be under $1 trillion if we were to keep an eye on this and we just started seeing the market bleed. Where could the total market cap go? Obviously we'd have to find some support back here. I'm not going to do that live here because that's just going to be too bearish for most people. But I definitely think that we're going to have to go below that origin where we see on this parallel channel. So right around here, at least 716 billion. So I would keep an eye on that. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're completely done, right? I mean, this could trade back and forth for a while. So just something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. You wanted to look at Meta, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's all I'm seeing with crypto. Definitely keep an eye on Bitcoin. I think that we are going to see maybe short term, we might push down a little bit, but I think that we are going to find that bounce pretty soon. And then you watch the total market caps for alts and then total market cap in total, because that's definitely going to react to some of the Bitcoin's price action. If it shoots up, I think it definitely will bring a lot of things down. All right, this is Meta's chart. What did you want to take a look at? The price action of how it's doing today compared to yesterday?
Yeah, let's look at the volume. Let's look at the RSI for it, kind of see, what we can gain from that. Are traders still long on this, or is this we talked yesterday, this could be a sell the news kind of situation. We saw a continuation on the way up this morning.
Yeah.
Meta was up $3-4 a share. It's now down on the day, but what are we looking at in the charts here? How could people be playing this if they wanted to? Say someone bought Meta earlier this year, had a good price. Where do we think it's going in the months ahead?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to pull this blue line down. This is the resistance that I saw. That was probably the most conservative resistance, and it looks like it kind of hit it. Again, this still has some room to the upside. Clearly it's had room to the upside since the beginning of the year, right? But got rejected from that, and we're seeing that it's come down a little bit today. So hit 299, currently at 293.8. But if we look back here, where can we start to see Meta definitely come back down to maybe in the months ahead? Well, let's pull up the monthly, right? It's completely overbought. And we talked yesterday how Meta on the monthly being completely overbought is here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this whole screen so y'all can see. There we go. I'll do this for a second. And we can see that we have these gaps, right? We filled the gaps on the way up that were created on this side. And now we have two big ones here and then a small one down here. And if we look at the monthly stochastic RSI, the last time it was overbought here, and it came all the way down here. And I remember that if I remember correctly, that was like in the 70% drop. Let's see. Yeah, it was like a 76% drop. And, we're completely overbought now, the same level that we were back here, but the price isn't nearly as high up as it once was, right? We're still pretty good amount away from the all time high, about $87 or so. But, if we're completely overbought in the stochastic RSI, volumes that came down significantly since the volume peak here as the price started pushing up. And we have all these gaps down here. Obviously, there is a lot of room to the downside. And I think if we're looking at the monthly, if we want to be conservative and some targets that we might want to keep an eye on, let's go to the weekly so y'all can see some of this. I think here, let me just remove this. I think this level right here, which would be around $221 to $231, might be a range where we might test before we find some support. Yeah, we're also looking at this on the weekly. The 200 and the 50 are right here, so that might offer some support, a bounce from there. I think that it's definitely gonna, if we do start to see a retracement, that's where it would likely head to. If it breaks below that, then the next gap is between 152 to 168. Again, this could play out in times very similarly to how it has in the past, but also keep in mind that we did see this massive 20-something% drop here on January 31st of 2022. So, I mean, the price could, absolutely tank if something bad were to happen, or it just seems like, the end of the move is here and there's a lot of money to the downside. So definitely keep an eye on these gaps. I think these are the ones that are going to be filled. There's one down here. Again, I'm not going to be super bearish here because I know JWeb loves how bearish I could be, but we're going to hold back on that for today. I think that's, if we could get a double bottom here, but for the most part, I think this right here between 168 and 151 would be worst case scenario that you'd start to see this come down over the weeks to months ahead. And then this one seems most likely for the time being, which would be 231 down to 221. And if we look at the stochastic RSI too, man, look how overbought this has been for weeks, right? Since December of 5th of 2022 all the way till now, and it's been at the 100 range, has not gone below 85 since. That's pretty wild. So we've been 85 plus for the past 7 months. I mean, that's insanity to think that the stochastic RSI has been that overbought for that period of time. Let's see here. Yeah, especially with this move, how much we've came up, it's definitely going to find some, the next move to the downside is definitely going to be pretty strong in my opinion, but who knows? I think those are some conservative targets for Meta. It's been definitely going up too much, and I think it really does need to come in at some point and make itself known.
I'm just very tempted to short this.
I mean,
very tempted to short this.
Let's do this then. Let's see where there is major resistance. Obviously, this is pretty good. And then let's see, 307 looks like a pretty good range where you might find some resistance there. We got, wick down here, wick and bounce from here. And it's also the top right over here at 304. So 307 to 304, maybe those are targets that it wants to wick up to. And again, we have to look at this on the daily stochastic RSI where there is a little bit of room to the upside. But if we also look at this on the weekly and the monthly, it's overbought completely, right? So if the daily gets to the overbought territory, then that might not be a bad idea. And then even if we look at the 4 hour, the 4 hourly is almost overbought. So we're almost overbought on all time frames. And they just released one of the worst apps that has ever came out in the history of mankind. So if you're willing to short this, I would look for some of those levels of resistance. I'm not going to short this personally. Mainly because I got enough exposure to most markets right now, and I don't need another headache or another shitcoin that's going to manipulate everything for me. So that's just my opinion. I'm not going to tell you how to short, but those are definitely some areas where I see some resistance and some of the targets for potential gaps that need to be filled.
Okay. I think that is a good place to wrap it up for now. I'll report back tomorrow on what my final decision was on whether or not I'm shorting Meta, but I don't know. It's just the thread stuff is so overblown and has added so much to the stock price that I don't think it can sustain. So I don't know. It's tempting at this point, but we'll see where we go from here. That'll wrap it up for today. Appreciate everybody for watching. If you have not yet, hit those buttons down below. A like, a comment, a subscribe, all of that good stuff. Share us out on social media if you would. That helps a ton. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Market close. It's going to be, the weekly close is going to be a good one. We'll have that jobs data in the morning. We'll see how the market responds. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Have an awesome day, and we will see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.